Well, it was nice to get 3 points defeating Manchester United a goal to nil. As I said, 3 points, clean sheet. We didn't play well. They played amazing. We played terribly, as they say in the media. It's a results driven business. 3 points. Back to reality. David Ornstein has said Arsenal have a lot of PSR headroom, so they could do more, but they're tight on UEFA financial fair play rules. Why is that? Now, again, I'm no accountant. Maybe this is true. Obviously, every team has to adhere to PSR. But we've heard in the build up to not just this season, this summer, apologies, last summer, and actually in January, and everything that tailed on is that we're in a good place where financial fair play is concerned, that we've got no issues around that. And you still see comments to this day. Now, the UEFA financial fair play rule seems to be a next one. It seems to be the latest twang. Fair enough. All I know is if you think this summer business that we've done, whether we bring in one more, two more, three more, whoever goes out indirectly, Berta, Tim Lewis, Cronky, all of you lot, Mikel Arteta, you're telling me we have enough in our pursuit of the 4 trophies we're in. Please make sure there is a title parade or a trophy parade, better yet, in May of 2026. Because you lot are way more experienced than me. People have worked and secured multi-million pound deals in the transfer market. People are on 15 million a year. People have been here 6-7 years. There you wait for a licensed coach. I'm just a football fan. The people's pundit, as they say. Smash the like button. So I hope it all works out and it all comes together. But it seems like everything will have to come together and there can be no spanner in the works. Now, big up African Gooner. I cannot see Jordan, the guy he's quoting, saying this, but he has said, apparently he said this, Arsenal remain interested in more arrivals, with Eze still a target despite his links to Spurs. However, despite having a lot of PSR headroom, they are tight on FFP rules and several fringe players will need to be sold to rectify this. Haven't learned anything there. You'd imagine Arsenal do want more arrivals. We know about the FFP stuff, and clearly we want to get rid of people. So we'll see what's going on there. You would have seen earlier today, Romano said that Spurs and Crystal Palace's chairmen, in Daniel Levy, where Spurs is concerned, and Steve Paris, where Crystal Palace are concerned, were in direct contact today for an Eze deal. Spurs are willing to offer 55 million fixed fee plus 5 million add-ons to get the deal done. Eze has informed Palace last week of his desire to join. Now, that isn't near his release clause, which has recently expired. So maybe there's a chance to get involved. I think Arsenal fans just have to accept my man is going to Spurs. Although, if you believe what we just saw, we're not giving up on the Eze deal. Where Trossard's concerned, Arteta still wants to strengthen his left wing options. I mean, let me know you lot's thoughts. Whether you think Eze is a left winger or whatever, the game you watched against Spurs, does Eze not have the capabilities to help us, especially, I mean, against United, especially in a tight and condensed and congested and compact game like that, where you have to be killers on the transition? There was a couple of times when we broke with less so much Gyökeres, but Gyökeres, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard. Eze, you could see where Eze would work, but fair enough. He still wants to strengthen his left wing options. We've heard that before, but we must sell before we can do more business. Trossard is most likely to go at this stage, as Brentford, Aston Villa, and several foreign clubs have shown interest in the player. For all the interest, and again, there's still 2 weeks left of the market, not really seen anything. Arsenal had been looking at Eze, says Miguel Delaney, all summer. There were mixed messages, but the talk in the last 2 weeks has been that they prefer a left winger after sales, people. Ed Aarons of The Guardian has said he understands Kiwior would prefer to join a club overseas than stay in the Premier League. Porto have been in talks with Arsenal over a loan deal for the Poland defender, who had also interested Crystal Palace. Another loan deal. If it's not an obligation, keyword obligation, it's a mess, because that means Kiwior and someone like Reece Nelson, who we've heard is preferred to go on loan, we're going to have to deal with this next summer as well. Let's see what's going on. He could leave Arsenal after missing out on the matchday squad against Manchester United. Would you lot sell Kiwior? Does it make sense to sell Kiwior? Do you think we're well stocked? Let me know your thoughts. Porto submitted a bid for the defender, 7 million euros loan fee with an obligation to buy for 20 million euros. So is that going to hit the initial, is he a better player when he joined us and now he's leaving? Has he announced himself to the world against a team like Madrid? I'm not saying he's world class in that. Should we get more money? Maybe if he was at a City or a Chelsea or a Liverpool, even United, teams that have sold well this summer, would they be in this position? I'm just asking. Can't imagine any of you lot expect Arsenal to get Rodrygo, but David Ornstein has said Arsenal have been heavily linked with Rodrygo at Real Madrid, but I do not know of any activity on that one, even though they are looking into it in the past. So they looked into it in the past. So we knew we weren't getting Rodrygo. It doesn't look like Silvinho is going to Spurs. We heard City wanted Rodrygo to replace Silvinho. Should we get involved in the Silvinho shouts, let alone Rodrygo? Do any of you still have hopes for either a Rodrygo or Eze or both? Do you think there'll be 2 recruits? Let me know your thoughts. Now, this is where the article that I think African Gooner was referring to came out of. Arsenal urged to lower transfer demands for Fabio Vieira as they look to axe huge chunk of deadwood to fund summer spree. We really doing the broker. I understand with us committing over 200 million, we need to sell. I understand that. I do think there was a remit to sell last summer. We've got a bunch of players that are on collectively good wages, or people that might not be earning in isolation the biggest of fee wages or cost the club that money. But when you throw in a Fabio Vieira, Lokonga, this one, that one, and there's three or four of them, you can see why we need to spread these resources to the players that exist that we need to get new contracts for, and obviously see what we can play around with in terms of bringing in people. We have been told to lower our demands for Fabio Vieira as we attempt to offload several players before the end of the transfer window. The Gunners have spent around 200 million on new signings this summer, including a 63.5 million on Victor Gyökeres, 51 million on Martin Zubimendi, and 42 million on Noni Madueke. Now, obviously, we live in a day and age. I don't know why, but whenever I see 50 million, I still think that's big money. Obviously, we've seen 100 million, bare stuff. We're in a day and age where someone like Mbappe is left and joined Real Madrid for free. And on the face of it, it's free. But you factor in the signing on bonus, and that is anything but 51 million, always stands out with me. Completely off topic, but humor me, people. I know these lot are professional footballers and transfer fees are mad, and admittedly, because of Arsenal's pursuit of Gyökeres and what we need around the striker, there's speculation. You could extend that to Zubimendi and the talk around Noni Madueke. But in isolation, these are not the biggest of fees spent. We spent more on Pepe, or the deal was tailored that way, right? But just humor me, folks. How would you not feel if you was a professional footballer, yeah, and you've actually been bought for that much money? Like, you're actually like, somebody's invested 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million in you. I know you can't read into it too much, but yeah, just humor me. That just came to my thoughts. We know we want to get rid of Fabio Vieira. My hot take is, I can't lie, I thought at least one or two of the names that we've spoken about or gonna speak about we would have cleared ranks, simply put, by now. It is what it is. We remain interested in more revivals, with Crystal Palace's Eze still a target despite links to Tottenham. However, despite a lot of headroom regarding PSR regulations, they are tight on UEFA financial fair play rules. Several fringe players will need to be sold to rectify this, and the Portuguese midfielder Vieira has been lined up as one of those. We all know he's fallen out of favour. We signed him for 30 million in the summer of 2023. We'd be lucky to get that back or make slightly as much of a loss. Rightly so, he was left out like a bunch of players of our game against United. And rightly so, we want to recoup as much of that 30 million as possible, because he's not 70 years of age, people. He could go to Stuttgart, find this. Let's not be dumb. He goes to Stuttgart, he plays a lot of football, maybe shows the potential that alerted Arsenal to him anyways, and he'll be sold for a profit. So we need to get decent money, and we need a decent sell-on clause, people. But we want to recoup as much as possible. It's proven a hard task, or a tough task in this window, even after we've dropped our demands to 25 million. Apparently, Andre Villas-Boas, what a name, throwback. I heard his name for a minute. Has been in touch with Arsenal over a permanent return for Fabio Vieira earlier this summer. But they're not in a financial position to give Arsenal what they want. So Porto wanted to keep him permanently. They probably knew it was a tough ask. Stuttgart are monitoring the situation. They see him as a replacement for Enzo Millie, who's joined Saudi side El Hilal, people. So naturally, that makes sense. We know you got bread. The Germans would only be willing to pay around 17 million, including add-ons, for Vieira. Arsenal are holding out for the right price, but Stuttgart are prepared to move on to other targets should negotiations break down. As you would imagine, Zinchenko's been linked with a move away. He's described feeling shame about this season. Obviously, Calafiori and Miles Lewis-Skelly are ahead of him in the pecking order. Dortmund have previously shown interest. Real Betis and Fenerbahce apparently have showed interest, and he's been linked with AC, Inter, Napoli, West Ham, Crystal Palace. Do you get where I'm going, people? So it is what it is. This said, Arteta would love Zinchenko to stay as an experienced head in the dressing room, but he's not going to get the football required. It's as simple as that. Arsenal believe the time could be right to cash in on Kiwior, whose stocks have never been higher after impressing when stepping in for the injured Magalhaes, people. Porto have not given up hope of luring him to Portugal, despite bringing in his fellow countryman and defender Bednarak from Southampton, people. AC Milan are said to be keeping tabs on Kiwior, and every now and again he's always linked with Juventus. Should he leave, we're not expected to sign another defender, even though I would like another left back. Don't shoot me. Reece Nelson and Lokonga were also missing from the squad. Work is being done to find them new homes too, but the pair are not expected to bring in significant fees. Where Lokonga is concerned, you just don't want to see his name associated to Arsenal because you've needed to go for a while. Nelson's on 100 grand a week. He's laughing, really and truly. So yeah, we've been told to lower our demands for Vieira. Kiwior would prefer to join an overseas club rather than persist with life in England. And this is saying the same thing. This is about Eze, so there's nothing there. So we're really going to have to see. If you want to catch some jokes, Arsenal are ready to move for Barcelona midfielder Frankie de Jong when his contract expires next summer. Really, Andrea Berta is now focused on agreeing a new contract for William Saliba. We're obviously aware of Real Madrid's interest and we want to tie him down. Real Madrid apparently would consider a swap deal for Rodrygo and Saliba. So it's a madness.